again with hello everybody. I'm here again with Vipin, and we're going to be discussing today large population, bane or boon. So, what are your thoughts on this matter, Vipin?
Hi Jack, thanks for coming online.
Thanks for joining
First
us.
of yeah. First of all, I'm from India, and India is second populated country after China, and we may overtake China maybe within 10 years or before that. I mean, since China is doing something on this, they have one child policy, and they encourage, and since they have a different system of working in India, we have democracy. We don't have any law against those who are going for more than two children, three children. So uh, I mean, I have read on many sites that India is going to overtake China. So I know what are the repercussions of having large population. I didn't know about that there could be any disadvantage in having less population. First, I will talk about what are the repercussions or disadvantage when any country has a large population, like in India. Since yeah, one thing is that you need to provide education to everyone. There are since if you have large population, you must build uh, many school. You must have a good schooling. Plus, may you since large population means that you have to feed so many mouths. It means your agriculture system should be good. So to provide you have to provide housing to all of them. So you must have resources to provide all these things. Since India is not a developed country, it doesn't have much resources. So our government, they used to encourage, they have many campaign programs where they are saying that you must not have a big family, go only for one child or two child. Many mouth. It means your agriculture system should be good. So
Here in Canada,
house.
most families only have one or two children, and that's a common trend throughout the developed world, which is that we have smaller families. There are some advantages, especially in the developing world, to having a larger population. You've got more people to work to create wealth to pay for these things like schools and hospitals, which you mentioned. And it's also one of the abilities for a country to defend itself is its population. If you have a larger population and you're attacked, then you can build a much larger army. So I don't think it's so cut and dry that more population is bad and less population is good necessarily. I think that it's a little more nuanced than that.
Yes, actually, just 2 years back, I came to know that there's some advantage having a large population. Yes, I knew that if any country is going for a war, this large population act as a deterrence, or it is very difficult to defeat a country which is having a large population. Once you have to have a large military if you want to going against a war with a large population population. And the second is, since if let's suppose India has a large population, it means that we have a large military as well. We have so many people who can go and join military. We have, in case of Israel, if I'm not wrong, everyone has to go through military training, and the reason is since they are into war zone and they have differences or dispute with so many country. So since they don't have a much they don't have a large military. So this thing can act as a deterrence in case of India, unlike Israel. So yes, I agree with you what you are saying. And the second is, there are many other things. Second is that large population means you have market. India is considered as a good market for many MNC and many company from US, Europe. They come here and build their. I mean, they do come here for business. So uh, many advantages as well. And recently, I came know about this. Like I was saying that I met one friend from Japan, and India and Japan is totally different country. I mean, we have a totally different structure. We have a large population, but it is increasing. In case of Japan, their population is shrinking. I was asking, what is this? I mean, what is the negative point of this? He was saying that they don't have labor force, so their economy is also shrinking. So I agree with you that in case of India, the positive point or advantage is that we have a large workforce, and after 20 years, since China is having one child policy, and I mean they are controlling on their population. I was reading somewhere that even US will have aging problem. So after 20 years, India will have a large young population, and it will be helping India as well as other country where we will be working for other country. So yes, I agree with you. It has some positive and as well as negative point.
Aside from just the economic benefits of having a larger population or the political benefits, I think that in human civilization, we sort of condemn death as a bad thing. We look
Mhm.
upon a murderer as perhaps the most vile of all criminals because they take away somebody's life. So, and of course, we look on natural disasters like the tsunamis in Asia that kill a lot of people as terrible things. So that if we condemn death as bad, then surely we must appreciate life and birth as good, because this is another human being who's able to experience life, to go through the incredible phenomena that is existence, and also that one person, that new person could be a genius, right? They could be a Mozart, Chandrasaka, they could be a scientist who does something great for the world, or they could even just be a normal person who has those a husband, a wife, the um, profound value they offer to their family. So
Mhm.
I think that we should consider the sort of ethical aspects of this as well.
Actually, since I'm from India and we were talking about at macro level, we are talking about economy and country situation in war if they have a large population. But if we go into micro level, uh, let's suppose I'm earning X amount of money or $100, and if I will have one child, I can spend large pie or big pie on him or her. If I will have two child, now that pie will be divided between two child. And if I will have 10 children, let's suppose 10 children, then smaller pie will be going to each child. So it affects here. Yes, since you are in Canada or someone from America or Europe, since you have a big salary, or I would say you earn a lot, so you can think about it. But since just going for a big family is sometimes it can work in opposite direction. You maybe, yes, you are talking about we can give birth to a scientist or a doctor, but at the same time we can be giving birth to a criminal or a terrorist or some other if you're not giving if I'm not giving my child good education, food, and he's not living a healthy life, then he may turn into a criminal later on. In India, that's why we support small family, because at individual level income is not high. So if one is not earning good money, so it means that he will not be able to provide good education or food or you know or any other facility to his child or her child. So that's why things are different at micro level. At macro level, yes, we are talking about workforce, uh, big military, these things help, but at micro level things are a little different. Don't you think so?
At what age would you say people generally enter the workforce in India?
It is 18, but I mean, if someone actually one is not allowed to work before 18, it is illegal. But skill workforce is when someone get education. So 20 to 23 when they get a bachelor degree, so that's when they are considered as a skilled labor. But age, if I'm not sure, but I think it is either 14 or 18. I'm not sure. I'm not sure actually. It is 14 or 18 legally. What about Canada?
In Canada, I think you can't have a social insurance number, which is basically a piece of identification. You're required to work until you're 16. Some people do work at a younger age. For example, I grew up in rural Ontario, so not in a city, but on a farm. And so people will start working on the farm, a small amount at a much younger age.
But in India, there is a word child labor. So if someone works at 13 or 12 at 12, and that from where he's working will be will face some charges, will face some charge because of they are supporting child labor. So in India, I think the age is 14 if I'm not wrong, but yeah, the skill labor is generally when we enroll or we pass bachelor. So it is generally 21 when they pass out from their university.
Do you find India to be a very crowded place?
Yes, I think so. Especially when we don't have good infrastructure. Uh, I mean, even I know that even New York is very crowded place, but India, but New York is able to uh, have a good infrastructure. There's a tall building, and but in India, if you will come here and see, you will see very crowded. One house is very close to another houses. There's no rule and regulation while building these houses. Though in some area, rule and regulation are being followed, but in most of the area, I mean, they don't follow rule and regulation. And if God forbid, if something wrong happen, like in case of earthquake, uh, situation will be very worst because houses are not built in, according to rule of municipal community. MCD. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Municipal.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, but we were talking last time or last. You were saying that one problem Canada is having, that it has very less or very low population. So, what problem do you think you have because of this? Is it because of economic or war or something else?
Well, Canada's geopolitical situation, we're isolated by large oceans on either side, and we have a close alliance with the hegemony with America. So there's not much danger, in my estimation, of war. We do have a very small population. We're the second largest country in terms of land mass after only Russia, and our population is around 30 to 35 million. So it's very small. And there are some problems with this. So our economy isn't really as diverse as it could be. We specialize in a lot of natural resource industries, foresting and oil and these sort of things. So if we had a larger population, I think our economy would become a little more diverse. There'd be a little more manufacturing. Um, it's not a huge problem, but I think we would benefit, and because our birth rate is now negative, we now more people die every year than are born. I think that we could really benefit from increasing immigration and refugees if we were to take in more people every year. I think our society would benefit and our culture would benefit from the infusion of different ideas and different cultures.
Oh, I would like to ask one question to you, and in fact, I asked this question to one other friend from Japan. I mean, I mean, what is the problem if you want to increase your family? I mean, it is very easy. You don't have to work hard. I mean, you have to talk to your wife, and then you can decide having a large family. I mean, what is this?
We don't want to do it. We don't want to look after kids for 18 years, and yeah, it's too much hassle when you can just live your own life, right? You got a child and you have this annoying little thing, and you got to change its diaper and it's not very smart,
Okay.
it's just crying all the time. Like who wants to.
And I personally believe that one of the reason India is having a large population is because of its culture and religion and the way people think in India. In Indian family, there's a love for boy child. They think that there must be a boy to every couple so that uh, the family tree will go on. It doesn't stop. So this thing. I have seen in many cases because of this thing, they have decided to go even for 7, 8 children until they don't get one boy. So this thing, help or I would say uh, encourage Indian family to have so many children. And another reason is uh, it used to, it used to be believed, not now, but almost 30 years back, people used to think that it is a god gift and we must accept this. I mean, I don't see logic behind this. I mean, they think that we must not go for abortion. It is against our religion. I think this belief is even in Christianity and in some other religion. They believe that large family is a good thing, and uh, you know if we are bringing one child, so why you are thinking that we have to feed them? He is coming with 2 hands, and so after 5 or maybe after 10 years, he can work, he can go to work and earn some money. So that's what people used to think. But with the passage of time, since education is people are getting educated, so now they can see the benefit of having small family like you are thinking. But I believe that okay, the culture thing is different thing, but when it comes to at macro micro level, you're talking about nobody wants to have many children, so or because they have to feed them, they have to look after till they are of 18. So same thing is happening in India. We are not I mean, I will not go for having more than 1 or 2 child because I will have to look after him or her. So same reason, like, but India has some other reason like religion and culture that has caused so many people or population.
One of the things that it says in the Bible is that you should be fruitful and multiply. So there is in the Christian religion there is some things which argue for this, and I think that there were probably some very similar conditions when these religions were founded that 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 made people have these beliefs. Like, when it used to be, hundreds and thousands of years ago, that that it was very common for the child to die during birth. It
Yes,
still this happens to a degree, but so or to die during childhood. Before we had better understandings of disease and vaccinations and an understanding of how to treat disease. Uh, it was very common for children to die. So that was one way that families would
reason.
continue throughout the ages was simply by having a lot of children and and if you have more children, they'll have more children, and then you'll be stronger, you'll be wealthier. And another thing was, you know you're saying now that child labor has been criminalized in India, just as it is here in Canada, at least on a commercial scale. But that was one thing that children would do, even in Europe, during the industrial age, was they would work. They would go to factories and they would bring in income for the family, and that was one way that families fed themselves was just having 13, 14-year-old kids working, and it's been universally condemned, but I don't think it's necessarily such a bad thing. There's nothing wrong about working, right? And I mean, if I don't see the terrible thing about working at 14 or 15 when working at 17 or 18 is a great thing. It seems like a very arbitrary distinction to me. And I think sometimes that maybe labor is a little more valuable than education sometimes. That's sort of a heretical perspective, but that's my viewpoint.
Actually, the thing is, in India, first of all, if someone is working at 13 or 12, they are not paid good salary. I mean, if someone is working at 13, he will not be earning that much as someone at 21 or 22 will be earning. So, and the other thing is, since this is the age one should go to college or school, they are either forced by their parents or sometimes because parents are not educated or they just don't. I mean, that's how I can say. I may be wrong, but that, I mean, government think that they don't love their children. So there are many other reasons. I would like to disagree here with you. I believe that if someone wants to work without any, without any, I mean, if his family is not forcing and situation is not bad in his house, and if he voluntarily wants to work, this is okay. But if situation force him to go to school and his family is not earning and things are not good in his house, so in that situation, I believe that uh, we must stop this thing. And if in India, we have seen that when someone is working, I mean in child labor, uh, firm or company, actually these company are very small company because big family does not hire any children. They have a policy, they have to fulfill the policy. uh, but small firm, or I would say at individual level, any shop or any small shop, they hire these children. And the situation of, I mean, the working environment is not good. Sometimes they have to work till the night. The children are beaten and they are not, since they are child, they don't know their rights. They can't, I mean, unlike adult people, they can't go to police station and file complaint. So many bad things are happening. So that's why these rules and regulation are there, that one should not hire who are below 40. And the point, the other point you were making, that earlier many children used to die, and that's why family used to have a bigger family so that at least one two could survive till his I mean uh, one or two could survive. Same thing happened in my family as well. My grandfather has many children, but I think he had almost 10 children. Seven were boys, sorry, six were boys, and four were girls. Four girls survived. Among six boys, three could not survive because of at that point of time, India did not have good medical facilities, or maybe family could not provide. So yes, one of the reason having large family was this. And there's one more reason which is very controversial here, but I would still like to make point here. In India, I have seen, in fact, in some other country, I have noticed one thing, and I have seen this propaganda by some religious group, even from my religion and even from other religions. They want to spread their religion. They want to make it big. They want that my religion will have a lot of members. So what they are doing, that they promote having more children, so that the number of, let's suppose Hindu or Muslim. If I'm a Muslim, I want to increase number of Muslim in my country, or if I am Hindu, I want to increase number of Hindu in my country. So they promote, having large family. It happens. I mean, they don't speak openly, but it happens. I have seen this kind of campaign.
You mentioned earlier that uh, a lot of people want to have a boy child. So one problem that's happening here in Canada a little bit is we have the technology now to tell whether or not a child is going to be a boy or a girl during the first trimester when it can still be aborted. And what some families are doing is if they find out that their child is female, they decide to abort it. Have you heard about this practice, and what are your thoughts on that?
I know, and this used to happen, and in fact, this happens in India as well. But it is illegal. The thing is, because of this, since everyone wants to have a boy child and they don't want a girl child, so we were having disparity, or I would say, sex ratio was not balanced. Number of girls were very few, and number of boys were very high. Everyone wants to have boy child, so, but these things happening below the carpet. I mean, many people, they go to um, the hospital, they check gender, and if uh, it is illegal, but it is still done in many, especially in rural part of India, where the police don't have much patrolling and all. So this is happening in India. That's why, but it is not illegal in Canada to have to check the sex of the child and then aborting it.
I believe not. I'm not certain, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's not so common that there's been really the need to develop a law around it
Yeah,
because
but like I, Mhm.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, like I was said, we have a we have a culture, we have a different culture. I was saying that since everyone in India, we live with parents even after marriage, but in Canada or in in Western country, culture is different. After 18, they live separate from their family. But in India, we live with parents. So my parents thinks that when he will be older, when he will get old, I will be helping, and yes, I will be helping. But that's how we Indian think. We don't have a plan after 60 age. We spend our money to our children, and later on we are dependent on them. But I think in Western countries things are different. We keep some money for our future. We invest in pension plan, so that when we get old, we will be living on our own. We don't have to be dependent on our children. So since in Indian society, they think that when we will be getting all our children, or especially boy, will be looking after this. So that's why they want to have a boy child. But in case of in your society or in Western country, culture is different, so they don't care whether my child is girl or boy. I mean, that's what I think. Is it so?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk about the extended family that you just brought up. So it's absolutely like you say that typically people live on their own or with their nuclear family, with their wife
Yeah.
and their kids who are still of a very young age, until they're 18 and then they move out. So there's some advantages to this. It's very nice to be free, to be able to do what you want. I can watch a movie whenever, and I'm not going to be disturbing anybody who's studying or anything. I live on my own, and I have for most of my adult life now. But there are a lot of problems too. When you're very close with your parents, and when you're around your family, they're going to be a good influence on you. If you get into some problems, they're going to say, "Hey, don't do that." They've already lived, decades of life. They have experience, and they can help guide you. And there's also that sense of community and closeness, that rich emotional life that comes from being surrounded with family. So it's not very cut and dry which is better.
Yes, and same thing is happening with me. I'm very close with my family, so I never thought of going abroad. Like some of my friend who is working in USA or in some other city. I don't want to even leave my city because I want to live with my parents. So yes, this is one thing you were mentioning, and yes, it has some drawback. It has some disadvantage. I can't go to movie with my friends. I have to report to my parents. Okay, I'm at home. I will not be out after 11 p.m. So it has some a disadvantage, but I find that they care for me. That's why there's so many, condition that I don't have to go to bar. I can't come home drink with I mean I can't drink and I mean these things are there. I have to compromise with privacy. So yes, I agree, but there I find more advantage than disadvantage. Yeah, one point I was making actually, since we are discussing this large population having problem or not, uh, since India has a very large population, don't you think that it will be very difficult if no employment? I mean, employment is not good, and large section of people are on the road protesting against government. If we don't provide, if we don't provide employment to everyone, then the situation will be very difficult. It will be very difficult to handle those people. The crime rate will be higher. Don't you think so?
I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. Could you rephrase?
No, I'm saying that since if we will have a large population, it means that many people are here. If we have a large population and we are not able to provide everyone employment, we are not able to provide everyone job, so many people will be on the street since they don't have work, so they may involve themselves in some crime. Maybe they are stealing things, or they come to road and protest against leader, or many things may happen, many things wrong may happen. And since we have a large population and many people are coming on the road, it will be very difficult to handle them. Law and order problem will be there, but in a country where population is small, it will be easy to control them. Don't you think so?
There's an expression uh, common here, which is the devil's idle hands are the devil's playthings. And what it means is just that if you have a lot of time on your hands, if you're unemployed, you might get up to trouble. So unemployment's a bad thing. It's very bad for the people that suffer it, that don't have work, that don't have money. but I don't think it necessarily follows from having a large population. I think that if you really examine the problem, you'll see maybe minimum wage laws or labor laws in general are the real culprit. There's no finite supply of jobs, right? So there's always work that people can do, but the question is at what price. So I think that addressing probably minimum wage is usually the main culprit, but there could be and there's always a small amount of unemployment, voluntary or frictional. But I don't think that a large population has any necessary correlation between high or low unemployment. I think that's typically more a byproduct of intervention in the labor market.
But since large population means you have large supply of worker or labor force, but if you don't have demand for this, then of course unemployment will be there. I mean that's how I'm you know I can see that maybe this situation may arise that you have large supply of labor, but you don't have demand for this. So this may be bad situation because and since we have large unemployment people, they coming to the road, and since they are large in number, so it will be very difficult to control them by we will have a law and order situation. uh, I never seen this situation, but I think this may happen.
Another thing is that uh, when you've got too much government spending and taxes, this is gonna to hurt employment as well. When the government's taking a lot of money out of the hands of businessmen and people that are creating jobs and providing employment, and they're spending it, they're giving it to special interest groups, or they're using it to pay bureaucrats. This is going to have a negative effect on the economy as well.
Yes, I agree with you, and that's why we have seen. In fact, I shared one case study of Greece. Uh, Case study says that Greece used to spend a lot of in social scheme on pension, uh, on I mean on giving subsidized housing. So they used to spend a lot, and tax collection were very low, and this kept going on for a very long time, and the debt to GDP ratio raises, and that's when things went worse, and in the end they could not handle the situation, and the economy, we know what happened to Greece. So I agree with you, and unfortunately when we go to vote, and when we are planning to vote someone, we only think what he is announcing, whether he's announcing subsidized food or electricity or water, and we think, oh, since he will be giving us free or subsidized food, so it means he is good for country. But unfortunately, that's what we think, and we know what may happen. And that's why in India people don't like prime minister economic advisor, because economic advisor to prime minister, he only think rational, he doesn't care about voting and all. He says that you have to control on subsidy, but we people don't like, oh, he's against people, he's against poor people, but that person is thinking rationally because he is best in his job. So I agree with you that socialist economy, or the way giving free of cost or spending too much is not good, or raising tax is not good for economy. And India, after liberalization after 1991, India did good. We are considered as an emerging country just after when we uh, lower down the taxes. and open the economy. So we have seen these changes in India as well.
Oftentimes, the arguments for a more free market style economy or limited government or laissez-faire or as I like to put it, voluntary, right? These it's a more voluntaristic society. These arguments are very subtle and often difficult to grasp. It's very easy to say, you know, here's a problem. People are hungry. Have the government give them food. You know, it's you know, you can't help but want to agree with it. And the arguments against it are very complex and difficult to grasp. So it's not always the easiest thing to try to explain, but in the long run, a society which embraces the principles of competition and a market-based economy and limited government is going to do much better than one that has state control. Going back to labor, um, one characteristic of labor is that it's entirely heterogeneous. So no two workers are really the same because no two people are very the same. So so everybody's labor is unique. You're because because you have your own sort of unique skills and unique abilities and how you contribute to the process. So wages aren't really determined by supply and demand so much as they're determined by productivity, the marginal revenue product, or how much a worker contributes to the production process. So
Mhm.
so it's you're I mean, there is a degree of competition in the labor market, but for the most part, it's the question is how much is the worker uh, contributing to the production process, and that's what their wages tend to be, depending on the competitiveness of the market.
Yes, in India, since I mean, when I completed my engineering, I was looking for a job. Uh, if someone is from a different field and there has to be compatibility between vacancy and job seeker. If vacancy is only for they are using very unique technology, and since it will be very difficult to find a person with that technology. So yes, I agree with you. In that situation, this happens that there will not be other person competing with that person because it is a very unique technology and no one else is learning that technology. But sometimes the company, most of the time actually, the company wants that we want only basic things, and I mean, for example, they want someone who only knows C++ language, programming language, and it's a very basic language. Then there is a competition since everyone knows C++. If someone pass their engineering, so there is a demand supply works. But I agree with you. In some cases, it happens that uh, one with unique skill or one with unique skill set does not need to compete with the other. So then labor or some demand and supply doesn't work that much in those cases.
But even if everybody knows C++, right? Some people are going to be able to type faster or they'll
Mhm.
know the language a little better, they'll have a more complete knowledge. So how much the company ends up paying them in the long run is going to be determined by how well they know the program and so it still affects, you know, there's still differences even when you have the same skill. There's differences in how well you know that skill and other factors as well. You know, if you don't show up for work on time, you'll get fired, right?
Mhm.
You know, even if you do know the language or whatever, and that sort of thing. Anyway,
Yeah,
this has
yeah.
been a really good discussion, Vipin. Hopefully, you don't mind. I'm gonna end it here, and
Yeah.
and hopefully we can have another one soon. I've really been enjoying these talks of ours, and I feel like we covered a lot of ground today and had a really good discussion.
Thank you, and even I enjoyed, and I hope next time we will have more people to participate.
Yeah. If anybody's out there watching us on YouTube, feel free to join in. Message me on Facebook, Zach Young. I'll put a link to my Facebook profile in the comments on YouTube, and yeah, feel free to join in. Hopefully, we can get a round table, maybe some people from other countries too, and
Yeah.
different ideas and different discussions. All
And
right.
yes, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, just one thing, and I mean, if someone thinks that he is not educated enough, I mean, we plan to we plan this debate like this, that we announce topic in advance, and we can read or we can study about topic, and then how I mean we can discuss here after this. So you don't have to be extra, ordinary, that oh, I don't know much about. So everyone is welcome. Okay, bye.